Hello, my name is Alun. My pronouns are he, him, and tonight I'm facilitating a one-shot of Fate of the Quadrant. This is my hack of Fate to turn Star Trek Adventures into a Fate game, broadly. And this is a one-shot inserted in the middle of a series of Star Trek Adventures games. So we're using some characters that have had a life in a series of Star Trek Adventures games. This is the episode where one of the cast, because I'm playing in that series, one of the cast gets to direct the episode. And these are our secondary subsidiary characters who are going to be sent to stage while the main cast are off doing something important on a starship. So with that in mind, can I invite our players to say hello, tell us their pronouns, and just briefly sketch out their character in terms of who they are and what their high concept is. I don't need more than that at this point. So let me go. We're starting with someone who I know has played Fate before. Paul, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Ensign Farga.
Hello, my name's Paul, he, him, and the character I'm playing in this one shot is Ensign Farga, she, her. Ensign Farga was a human. She suffered major damage in the Wolf 391 attack, and she's been cybernetically rebuilt. She's not devoid of humanity, but she craves for other people to see her as she was, rather than a cybernetic being.
I like that. Let me go next to somebody else who I know has played Fate. Will, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Ensign Adira Lee.
My name is Will. My pronouns are he, him, unlike those of my character. Ensign Adira Lee, pronouns she, her. Adira Lee is a junior member of the security team on the Kintsugi. Her roommate is Ensign Ward, one of the Kintsugi's pilots. And on a recent mission, she helped rescue some Federation teams and some freebooters, but was unfortunately infected by a close contact with the Borg. Luckily, Dr. Wan was able to arrest the nanite infection, but who knows what's left behind in her system. It's early days of the Federation.
Indeed, indeed. Let me go next then to Pavel. Say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Ensign Thevilic.
Yes, hello, and glad to be back. I'm Pavel. I use pronoun he, him. I'll be playing Ensign Thevilic, who is an Andorian, and he's a science officer, but he secretly wished that his knack for security has been recognized more widely, especially when he was assigned to the science course at the academy. And he might try to show that he should be more security than science.
Like that. And finally, Donna, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Lieutenant Junior Grade Tractix Van.
My name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him. I'm playing Lieutenant Tractix Wan, who is a Bolian. He's a medical officer. I'm not sure we've established who the chief medical officer is aboard, if there is another one. He is, very good at his job. Look at Ensign Lee back on her feet after a couple of days off on a mission, though we'll be keeping an eye on her, I'm sure. But I think everyone higher up in command thinks he's not really, he's too friendly with people. He is keen to maintain that bedside manner, and this is a test for him. So we'll see how it goes.
Because indeed, yes, Lieutenant Wan is to lead this away team, and in the final briefing offered by your first number one, Lieutenant Commander Latal. This is easy, he says. We will drop you on Zorolux III. It's a dead planet, geothermally active. All I need you to do is to carry out a xenobiological survey. It's possible. I think, frankly, unlikely, but it's possible that some of the microbes living around those vents have got therapeutic value. There was an initial civilian survey some years ago that suggested they might. We're going to leave you here. We shouldn't be away for more than 4 or 5 days. And then we'll come and pick you up.
Well, a dead planet, hardly dead if it had microbes on it, sir. I mean, they count.
Oh, you know what I mean, Juan. It's dead in the sense of anything interesting.
Well, I have to disagree with you there, sir. Also, I think it's terribly interesting. But listen, we'll be there for 5 days, hopefully, and well, let's see what we do discover. Maybe I'll be able to change your mind when I come back. I will look forward to reading you that report.
Yes, well, bear in mind, Juan, I shall be considering this in terms of your likelihood for promotion. You've sat at junior grade for a long time. I need to know there's more to you than this.
Than microbes.
Indeed. Farga, Thvillic, Lee, any questions?
Farga. Straightforward mission. So no problems at all.
That is entirely the intention, Farga. Try and keep it that way.
Indeed, sir.
Lee?
Is this territory unclaimed, sir, or are there any do the Cardassians or any of the other powers have designed?
It's neither in Cardassian space nor ours.
Good, so we don't expect any complications.
I don't. Try not to create any then, Lee. Last time was bad enough.
Thank you, sir. Your empathy is renowned among the crew.
I know. Thvillic, what about you? Any questions? Oh, you are muted.
None. I was hoping for some people to talk to, but I guess it will be Necro. But I guess it's nanobiology, sir. I will do my best to analyze it and find everything.
Indeed. That's largely why I've assigned you to this. You have an interest in xenobiology. Maybe it'll pay off. Who knows? And as you trail out of his office, he just wait a moment. Wait a moment.
Oh, sir, I was going to say this to Thvillic, that the last time we encountered the Cardassians, that was on a planet which was neither in Federation space nor Cardassian space either, but that didn't stop them.
Yeah, this is a long way from their border. There's no earthly reason why they should turn up. And if they do, keep your heads down, contact us, and we'll be back in a flash.
But you'll be quite far away, sir, won't you?
I will send a shuttle. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I am glad to hear that. You'll be fine. We'll be fine. You did want to say something to me, though. So.
I did. Sickbay has given Lee a clean bill of health.
I did, yes.
Clearly, I would want her to be monitored. It was a difficult circumstance she found herself in, and I just want to be certain that there is solid medical assistance available to her, were it to become necessary.
Sorry, are you suggesting that my prognosis is in error?
Not at all, though of course it might be. What I want to do is to make sure that you know that I haven't sent you just because I want to do a command assessment of you for your next promotion board. I'm sending you because you have been one of the principal medics involved in treating her over the last several days.
See, now I think I think both of us should stay aboard the Kintsugi, sir, because if we have any doubt, we really should continue to monitor in the best conditions.
She needs this, Juan.
Oh, The microbes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got you. We're hoping that the microbes will prove effective against Borg nanites.
That would be an additional bonus. She needs to get back on the bicycle, as I believe the humans say. I've never been entirely certain what a bicycle is, but she's to get back on it.
Horse, sir. I believe
Vate
they
has been
say
very
horse.
clear with me that she needs to she needs to be safe but stretched. And an away mission seems to be in a safe environment seems to be an ideal therapeutic intervention.
Right, yours, sir.
Ensign Farga, is there anyone that you want a scene with in the team or out of it before I cut to the surface of Zorolux III?
Yeah, who's our principal? Yeah, I'd like a scene with Wan.
Right. Where is this? Down in sick bay or?
No, I think this is in an elevator as we're going to the transporter room. I take it we are transporting down, or are you setting us down in the shop?
You are.
Okay. Yeah. So, Lieutenant, can you give us a brief on this planet? You're the sciencey person. Are we going to need environmental suits? You know, what's going on here?
I mean,
We've got no shuttle to use the base.
Well, I would think a shuttle would be safer for sure, but I think they need it on the Kintsugi. So we'll just beam down and set up camp and we'll be fine. I really do have to finish this briefing because when I do, I'll be able to answer your questions. Maybe Tvilic is the right person because he is the science person. I'm the medical person. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you're in charge.
Exactly. So I should really find out what's going on.
Indeed. And make sure you brief us.
Well, yeah. I suppose that is the way things work.
Wan, does this?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on the bridge. So that's how they do it.
They spend all their time in meeting rooms and not much time working sometimes. That's what I think.
Well, each to their own. Clearly, what they do on the bridge has a direct impact on what you do in sickbay.
I mean, sometimes to the detriment of what we do in sickbay. A lot of people show up sometimes due to the decisions.
Well, I've heard the captain, and he quite often says, to keep you guys in jobs, he does have to put some people your way every now and then.
That's shocking, Farga. That is shocking.
Well, I'm only repeating what the captain says.
Well, I mean that's something I shall tell at the next medical conference. I think that will cause quite a hoot at the tables after dinner.
Indeed, yes, a good after dinner fun. So I'll let you get on your way then, Lieutenant. But yeah, make sure you brief us on the planet. It's vitally important.
So Wan, does that prompt a scene you want to frame?
I mean, I'm a doctor, damn it, not a commander. I think it is a good time to corner Tvilic and to work through what we have from the survey and figure out maybe where we should set up our camp and because we're being transported down, so it'll be Shanks Mare after that, right?
Indeed. So Tvilic, this might be an opportunity just to engage with the mechanics. Pavel, I didn't check. Have you played much Fate?
I did some Fate. I know I even own this. Oh, yeah.
If only I was using those. So you'll see in the dice room, there's a red dice and a blue dice, right?
Yeah.
The red dice is positive, the blue dice is negative. And you get a very similar distribution of outcomes as you would get rolling 4D fate. So where do we see you kind of going through the previous survey details or any scans of the planet below with WAN?
I don't know. Any ideas for a cool room?
Geology room, geology lab, xenobiology.
Looks like more like a geology lab for this planet.
Fine. So I'm seeing the pair of you kind of at a console while you are briefing WAN. So let's see how thorough your briefing is. I think this is, in fate terms, creating an advantage about the circumstances you'll find on the ground. Yeah?
Yep.
So I think roll to create an advantage. I think the difficulty would be it's a civilian survey. So I think that makes it a 3. If this was a Starfleet initial survey, I might make it lower. Difficulty is 3. So you have SciMed at 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that +4. You're going to roll both dice, add the plus dice, subtract the negative dice, and that'll give you your final kind of score to compare to the 3 of the difficulty.
It's bad. I rolled a total of 1.
Ooh. So 1. Now I might just refer you to the tab that says doing stuff. Yeah. Now, can you see create advantage? 1, create a new aspect in the scene that you'll attach to an ally, opponent, or the environment. So this is attaching this to the planet below. 1 is success. Any positive is a success. So succeed and get a free invoke on the aspect you created.
I'm sorry. If you want to say in that terms, I rolled a -2.
Oh, I see. Sorry, right. I didn't think to do the sums. So -2 is fail and the GA, or succeed and the foe gets a free invoke on the aspect. Right. I'm going to give you an aspect that says we know something about the environment. Yeah. But you're not going to get a free invoke on that. I'm going to give anything but you don't really. So I'm going to give opponents get a boost against you that I can deploy if I want to.
Where do you keep the aspects?
I've put it in the chat.
Okay, so we have to keep, okay.
Yeah. It looks like there's an area, now behind me is the area with lots of vents. That's where you're going to be doing the work one. But there is, away from there on lower ground, an area where the amount of geothermal activity is much lower. And that's where all the evidence suggests you should put the camp. They'll beam you down there with, temporary tent-like prefab housing. And Thevilic thinks that'll be easy. Now, whether Thevilic is telling you the truth or whether he's just wanting to make this sound simple so he can, feel the risk of the threat of the place, I don't know. But the equipment that you've been, listed in the manifest is all you'll need.
So Thevilic, it looks like, is there lava, molten rock on this planet? Because that's how I would interpret it. And that that rolls downhill, right? Traditionally.
Yes, sir.
So we wouldn't seek the high ground, or is there some sciencey explanation why we shouldn't in this case?
Well, we should seek the high ground only when there is a volcanic eruption and a large emission of lava over the area. Unless we get it there in these circumstances, with a regular lava flow from the volcanic place, we should be safe. And being closer means will be in higher danger. I mean, my species, we are quite good at acting in environments which are more heat than humans. But so getting any closer will be much more uncomfortable for staying there like 5 days. So it's perfectly reasonable.
So we have plenty of time to move because we'll have warning because of all the sensors you're going to set up. But that will mean we'll lose all our stuff. But I suppose, that's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
Look, Lieutenant, scientifically, the chances of us getting a volcano eruption in these 5 days are very low compared to winning, what did they say it on the Earth? Lottery? I think that's what they say it.
Okay, well, fair enough. We'll have to follow your lead here, I suppose. Yeah, well, put all of the information and our place of camp in the log, and obviously we want them to know exactly where to pick us up in 5 days.
Of course, Lieutenant. I will put everything as you ordered.
Okay. And I expect you to give us a briefing as to exactly camp setup and where we'll find the microbes, most importantly, and maybe some spectacular sites that we can visit when we have some time off.
Of course.
That, I think. Ensign Lee, do you want to frame a scene before you leave the Kintsugi?
I mean, not to put him in demand, but I think I'd like to have a scene with my roommate, Ensign Ward.
Then I'm going to invite Ensign Ward to step in as a guest. They taped this before she left for the Emmys, obviously.
Okay.
I think we're both packing for our missions, right? Our various emissions of things, and Lee's looking like it's in a bag and like, it'd be nice to go on a mission without Lieutenant Vate around. Maybe I'll get a chance to do some action myself on that Borg ship. I had to save his ass, and that's how I got hit.
Well, yeah, he is. He seems capable to me.
Don't tell me you've got a crush on him like Farg does.
No,
Shit.
not with a barge pole.
Maybe Latal then? Could you melt that killer exterior?
Hell, Adira, no. I mean, that is just beyond the pale. Who were you trying to set me up with last week? Tavalic? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you'd be cute, right? Like Tavalic's always hanging out with Farga and Vate when they go do the holodeck stuff. Between you and me, I think he's becoming a bit of a third wheel.
You need to get out more, Adira. Okay, maybe some quiet time on the side of a volcano will.
Yeah,
help.
it'll be good to get out. I mean, I did just spend the last 10 cycles in medbay. I have to wear.
I promise you, I'll re-up the supply of your treats when I come back.
Treats. Made me sound like a dog, Ward.
What do you call them?
Well, you can call me and then it cuts. Because Star Trek doesn't have the B word in.
And finally, Ensign Tavalic, do you want to frame a scene of your own? with somebody else or doing something else?
Yes, of course. I think Ensign Lee gets the call to meet me in the holodeck, and as soon as she gets in, you see me. You immediately see that this is like a training program for a Starfleet elite personnel to fight off Borg invading our ship, and it's like the end of the scenario that is made to play by a team, but Tivilek plays it on his own. And the last stage is like retaking the bridge, and there are like 4 Borgs over there, and Tivilek just stands there all in the pose mode and says, "Oh, Lee, cool. Listen, I need your super advice because you are like the expert here. Yes." Like I'm trying to like get like all 4 of them, but my phaser stops working at the second one. So then I go at the third one with the butlet, but then the fourth one comes at me being me while I'm busy. Like I need some like good advice over here.
And Lee sort of smiles like weakly, and you can see that she doesn't look very comfortable with this. And she says, maybe disruptors rifles or something. I don't recommend getting in close with them. Yeah, they're strong. They're stronger than the holodeck is.
I don't think this scenario allows us to equip disruptor rifles. Computer, disruptor rifles 1, please. And the computer goes like, did it? I'm not allowed.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we won't run into the Borg again. And she sort of smiles like, yeah, enjoy Civic. Next time, ring somebody else. And she goes down the corridor and begins having a PTSD attack.
Well, let me offer you a compel instantly.
Oh yeah.
If you are prepared to, and I just need to check in on stress. Actually, I come to think of it. Let me just check in on stress. So, mental stress. Let me go, and physical stress. There we go. And command 1, 2 gives you another one there, and security gives you all of those. And Farga command gives you another one, and security gives you 1. And WAN command should be that many, and security, that should be that many. Okay, sorry, I'd forgotten I hadn't updated your stress to match the way you allocated stuff. So I'm prepared to offer you a compel if you accept marking one of your mental stress boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that won't recover until the end of a scene on the planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
a relatively threatening scene on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that will grant you an extra fate point. I think for that scene, I think that was an Andorian Science Officer desperately trying to demonstrate his security capacity. So you two can get a fate point for that. But I reserve the right to have you step into danger the first time it appears down there.
Of course.
Farga, I'm offering to compel you on the grounds that I think that working hard to be recognized as human again, I think you were pretty hard on WAN. And so I'm prepared to offer you a fate point on the grounds that you won't help WAN and WAN won't help you until each of you has had a chance to do so, or one of you's had a chance to do so, and it won't happen.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And finally, Lieutenant Wan, I think that the sense I get there was that you were keen. I didn't see your bedside manner Did I?
I would have said command ineffectual-ish, but trying. um, so, I wasn't. I mean, no one was really in need of my help, but maybe Tvilic was. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough there to give me a hook to compel that yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing an opportunity when command would be useful, but your urge to the bedside manner makes you indecisive. Yeah.
Sure.
And then I think we'd be in compel grounds, and a fate point would be up for offer. So we'll have a brief trip down to Zorolux, then we'll take our first break. So that's the kind of the field of vents, if you will, where you're going to be taking these samples. And as the Tvilic has outlined, down there in that valley, maybe an hour's walk away, is where they're going to beam you down and beam down your prefab accommodation. Juan, what's your first reaction to the planet? What do you see as the biggest threat?
Well, the first thing I'm really checking or rechecking, because they do this kind of thing at the transporter, is this atmosphere safe?
It's safe as long as there's no significant eruption. The amount of dust and contaminant in the atmosphere is relatively low.
Mm-hmm. So
you might need to use a respirator when you're taking samples.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we will set up some sensors with an alarm to warn us of any change in the atmospheric quality. Safety is
fine. So the risk you're identifying is increased geothermal activity. Yeah. Fine. Farga, is there any other risk that you see here?
What was the actual risk that was it the environment itself?
Risk of increased geothermal activity.
Okay, so we've got an environmental one. Hidden tunnels.
Okay, so the collapse of hidden lava tubes. Yeah?
Yep.
Fine. Tvilic, you've got an interest in xenobiology. What do you see as the opportunity here? I mean, the opportunity is to find these microbes, but is there anything else that interests you about this environment?
Of course, I'm very interested in what kind of bigger life forms could live in such an environment. And definitely this weird-looking footstep that they found just to the north from the camp is an indication that there might be one.
I asked you what opportunity you might offer, and you've given me that. I don't want to invent a footstep yet. Let's see how your survey goes, shall we?
Okay.
Ensign Lee, opportunity or threat?
How many have we got of each so far?
We've got 2 risks and, well, an opportunity of a larger life form.
An opportunity of a larger life form. I think what's interesting? What haven't we seen in the Star Trek thing? Sorry, we're not keeping track of any of these on the character keeper, are we?
I'm writing them down.
Also, sorry, could you recap what we've got already?
Okay, so we've got a risk of increased geothermal activity, a risk from the collapse of hidden lava tubules, and the opportunity to encounter larger life forms.
I am going to say the opportunity, perhaps, of an abandoned colony. Like at some point, some species try to settle here. They've gone at some point, you know.
Yeah, opportunity of abandoned let's civilization, because then that leaves it fairly open.
Yeah. Yeah, however you want it. I was thinking buildings, and as far as you wanted to scope that out, it could be, you know, small frontier colony, it could be ancient, it could be whatever, right? But there are structures beyond just terrain.
Fine.
Got to reuse some of the set design, you know.
Yes, yes, indeed. In our gravel pit. So it is 53 minutes past the hour. I'm going to suggest we take our first break now when we're back in our seats on the hour. Yeah. Okay. I'll pause. Okay, so it seems to me that when there are some tasks to undertake, certainly you're looking to get the geothermal sensors placed. And you might also want a local area tricorder scan for any of, you know, see that the ground you're on is reasonably safe. So who do you think is best equipped to place these probes, probes that will pick up on increased geothermal activity? It's probably an engineering task or SciMed or science.
Yeah, that's where my mind was going. I think Farga and Tavalic should set up the sensors array. And actually, I have in mind that myself and Lee will set up our little base.
Fine. So Farga and Tavalic, I'm seeing you making your way around the valley, placing these probes in the ground. What is I mean, what does the probe look like, Farga? You're our engineer.
They look like long, sort of pointed things that you drive into the ground, like pickets, with sort of like it can have an activated light at the top. So you could actually physically see the border you've created, very much like a thumper from Dune.
Fine. And normally there's a small green light, but that will flash large and bright red if it goes off, as well as hopefully triggering, you know, any monitoring you've got, remote monitoring you've got. So I think this is an engineering task. I don't think it's difficult. I think this difficulty is 2. Because what are you going to do? You're going to go around, bang them in the ground. That's easy peasy. I think the conditions make it a little trickier on the grounds that, you know, there are places where you don't want to place it. It's too near one of these vents, and that might give you anomalous readings. So I think that environmental aspect of volcanic vents means +2 to the difficulty. So difficulty is 4. Is there anything that Tavalic is doing to help Farga in this placement, either choosing the spots or in the actual act of doing it?
I think Tavalic is with his tricorder, very much aimed at the ground and trying to find the spot which has at least underground disturbances and veins of lava.
Now, we've not had a look this far down the character sheet, but down there on about row 40, tricorder, necessary for anything but cursory analysis of a scene to take place. It can be invoked when relevant to an action. You could spend a fate point to invoke your tricorder to give Farga a +2 in a moment. But the teamwork that you're embarked upon, you've got engineering, which means that you can add 1 to Farga's outcome before anything goes. So what I'm going to suggest is we roll to see how Farga does, and then I'll come back to you to see whether you want to use the tricorder data you've collected to help. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. So Farga, you got +4. difficulty is 4. It boils down to what the dice say. Red is plus, blue is minus. +1. Is that enough? With Civilix just being there and helping you, that gets you to +2. If you got to +3, you would be succeed and get a boost doing it. So you'd have a boost in play if you wanted to improve the outcome.
No, I'm happy with that, and clearly, I'll just keep looking at Tavilic and go, that's okay. I'll keep doing all the hard work, Mr. Physical and all. You know, good job that it's an equal society, isn't it? You know, you just sit there and look at that tricorder, while I sit there and bang these in.
I
What
don't
you stand
think
for security, man? I thought
I-
physical was your sort of thing.
Yes, it is. Do you want to like look at the readings and tell me where to put them in? I mean,
Well,
I don't want
I
to be
could,
rude
but
or
I think
anything.
I'm
If you want to
pretty
switch, we can switch.
I've pretty much done most of it now, but don't worry, that's fine. At least if something comes on, you could shoot it. That's something.
Yes, I'm making you. I'm providing security to you working. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, well, they're in place. Looks reasonably good. We could have done a better job, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's hotter than anything down here, isn't it? It's hotter than a Tellarite on a low gravity world.
It is. But for me, it's like still in a comfortable area. I mean, in a comfortable zone. And for you?
Well, yeah, you know, I'll just adjust some internal mechanics, and but yeah, it's pretty sweaty under these plates. That's for sure.
Anything, Philip, or are you content with that scene?
No,
Well,
I'm
content
fine.
might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, let me cut back to Wan and Lee. Lee, you know, Wan wants you to set up, you know, the camp. What do we see you doing?
I think you see Lee with the phaser drawn, pacing around patrolling the camp. You know, taking up climbing, I think, like a nearby rocky area to bring out some almost Star Warsy style binoculars, right? Like to scan the horizons. She's really, really on edge about everything. She's, I think, maybe like consciously avoiding the rest of them because she's starting to feel a little bit under pressure, under strain out here.
Wan, you know, it looks like Lee is wanting to do a perimeter patrol rather than necessarily, you know, work with you. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gaze at Lee as she does a quadrant, and then start building the foundations, or however this prefab goes together. And when she comes next into my line of sight, I will wave her over, or maybe break open a ration tin. Ensign?
What?
Adira.
Sorry, I yeah.
Do you want to make your way over here for a moment?
You don't want me to keep watch, sir?
No, I don't think that's necessary. I think we've been assured that this place is safe. So,
I mean, there could be anything out there, and I think as she says that, the camera pans across just barren terrain of nothingness.
there could be, but we do need our quarters to be set up. At least before the others get back. I imagine they would be a little bit miffed with us if we haven't done our part. Anyway, I'm making some tea.
All right, I'll come down. Because obviously all that was happening over the comm badges, right? As we were some distance with it. Yeah.
And so I'm seeing the two of you you know, I guess this comes down as a flat pack with sides that fold up and out, and and stuff like that.
Yeah. But really, I am sacrificing getting that job done, even though that's the excuse I used to just chat with Lee. And I guess, do you mind if I call you Adira while we're on mission, Ensign?
Only if I can call you Tratix.
Sure. I mean, it rolls off the tongue, I think.
Trat? Do people call you Trat?
No, never.
X?
Only my wife.
Okay, X. And she looks his shoulder.
Well, that culturally, that is, a bit of a faux pas. I mean, in some circles, we would now be married.
And Lee goes, "Why, Lieutenant?" And I think you see a little bit more of the character coming back to her. She's like, "Why, Lieutenant? I couldn't with a married man. Although I have heard the Bolians are polyamorous."
Well, sometimes when we're very good.
I think what I want to offer Juan a chance to do here is to create an advantage in terms of the relationship being established with Lee.
Sure.
So I think that this is using your softer skills, your insight. What is Lee's command? Command 2 is your opposition. So you're working against 2. Your insight is what you're going to add to the dice roll. And we'll worry about whether your gregarious nature or your bedside manner play in later.
Okay. So I guess that is 2 total? With my plus 3 and the minus 2?
Exactly. So success, you have an advantage, which is good relations with Lee with a free invoke. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess we see Farga and Thevilic coming back in as the sun begins to go down. They've done the complete circuit of the valley. You might have had a view of the area where you're going to be doing the survey tomorrow. Thevilic, Farga was pretty kind of tough on you up there.
Definitely.
What does the audience make of the relationship between the pair of you as you make your way back to camp in the dusk?
I think it's cold. Like, we are walking probably like 10 feet apart. It's like not even talking. It's just like getting back, not talking.
Okay. Farga, that's what we see. Do you mess with that? The impression being given, or are you content with that?
You're muted, Paul.
I think you'll see Farga making an attempt at some small talk to Thevilic, but yeah, he's giving her the cold shoulder, so yeah, she'll just forcibly stomp ahead back to camp.
And that's the impression you get, Juan, when they arrive back at the shelter that you finished building. I mean, it's a simple structure, a pair of bunks, a portable replicator, bins of equipment for the survey. Any response from Lee or Don or Juan to this kind of cool atmosphere that kind of comes through the door? It's hot here, but as soon as the pair of them come through the door, one and then the other, the temperature drops.
So, and the impression I get maybe is Thevilic is coming in first, or okay,
yeah,
off in a huff, I suppose. Ensign, everything all right out there?
Yes, of course, Lieutenant. We placed the sensors. We should not be surprised by anything.
I'm going to offer you a compel here, Lieutenant Juan. A compel that says your urge to maintain a calm environment, as long as you don't interfere in this relationship, because you think interfering it may just cause it to blow up, I'll give you a fate point.
I mean, I was thinking I might have a guitar because a sing along would definitely help break the ice, right?
I'll give you a fate point for that, even if you don't hit the compel. Kumbaya, outside around one of those glowing rocks that somebody has heated with a phaser.
Yeah. I mean, I think I will, maybe look over to Farga to get a sense of her take on that pronouncement if she has arrived in by then.
Yeah, it's all up and going. Yeah. Done all the work that you asked. Anything
Splendid.
left?
Well, I'm gonna finish up here. Then I think it would be great to take in I have to imagine we have a spectacular sunset on our cards in the next 32 minutes. So, rest your feet, grab some victuals, and then we'll get to work.
Is there a nighttime roster? Is one person staying up at all, Lieutenant?
Well, I believe Ensign Lee has been working on our rota, and of course, I think we just need someone to monitor our sensors and such. But of course, I think it would be quite irresponsible of us to all sleep at the same time, and that never happens on board the ship, does it? No, it doesn't. So let's.
We do in security have a system for this.
Oh. Well, I mean, this is exactly what I'd expect.
You don't do many away missions, do you, DUX?
I mean, I have done, but I couldn't say many.
Okay. Don't worry, I've got it covered. Like you said, there's not much out here. I'll be taking first watch, and the others. You should take a break from the scans. Enjoy the tea. And she takes a sip, and she winces slightly. She says, nothing tastes quite the same anymore. Ugh. How long did you say that was going to last?
Well, so my initial projection is 4 to 6 weeks of what you would consider substandard for everything. And then we'll have maybe a 2 to 4 week transition, and then I expect you to be Writer's Reign in 3 months. So look forward to hating all of your favorite things for about a month.
Oh, well, that's just jolly, isn't it? She
It
gets
is.
her stuff back. Yes, and there's me sat here, cybernetically enhanced. No chance of my taste buds coming back, are there? No.
What are you talking about, Foggy? You were telling me how you could hack your own taste buds, how you were able to program yourself to find like asparagus.
Oh, yes, I have to program it, but really they're not there.
Oh, yeah.
Yours will at least return.
Everyone's jealous of being stabbed by a Borg, I guess.
Well, Farga, look at it this way. I mean, our neural network is really just natural programming. I mean, you're not really tasting anything. Those are just electrical signals going to your brain telling you that you're tasting something. So really, I imagine that when you're brought to a family gathering and you're forced to eat ishak, well then you just turn it off and you smile and grin and bear it.
I suppose when you put it like that, Doc, it does have its advantages. Yeah, that's well put. Well pointed out there, Doctor.
I mean, what can I say?
Pat, I think, to Lee on first watch while the rest of you are having, the evening meal before you retire. What do we see you doing out there, Lee?
You see Lee, I think, sat with a pack by her with the binoculars, taking a scan every now and again. With her phaser placed on the rock next to her, sort of hunched over, and then she's just she taps her badge and she goes, Ensign Lee's medical log, star date, etc., etc. Tea tastes pretty bad, but one benefit is the others are complaining about the heat or the cold, or I'm not quite sure because everything feels kind of. If beige had a scientific property, I think beige would be the right word for it. Everything feels very beige. I wonder if this is what the Borg feel like all the time. It doesn't feel very fun. But so far, the medication seems to be working. End of log.
And presumably that's what what you've just described is what you're expecting anybody else who's on duty through the night to be doing, or are you going to rely on the that there's nothing out there? Because you said security had a thing they did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely doing the standard duty. I'm doing the Starfleet. I'm keeping an eye out. I'm patrolling. I'm checking my tricorder readings from time to time to do it. Think perhaps even setting up my tricorder to do some kind of passive scanning of the area, right? Like,
what are you looking to check?
I think based upon a question before, I think the one thing that she will check for is energy signatures or anything like that. Because I think that's a standard one, right? Like you never know when somebody might have beamed down onto the planet elsewhere.
Okay. So within reasonable range of your tricorder, I think this is decent long range scan. Maybe difficulty is 4. Well, let's make it 3.
3. Okay.
I think security is what you're applying here, isn't it?
Yeah, security operations. Yeah. So I roll both the dice, right?
Yep. Red plus, blue minus. So that's +1 on the dice. +4. Security gives you +5. A success by 2, which is nothing's out there.
Nothing's out there.
No evidence of transporter signatures, residues, no power sources, nothing. It is as desolate as it looks.
Well, I guess that's a relief. And she sighs, leans back. And just waits for her shift to be over, I think. Going about her duties, really.
Juan, what do you consider to be the worst shift? This one is already dealt with. There's the one just pre-dawn, and then there's towards the deepest of night, and from the deepest of night towards dawn. Which of those is worst?
Well, I'm assuming. Well, I know for a fact that everyone's sleep patterns are different species and individually. So I think I've got a little chart for this. Cross-referencing known medical history, species, incidents of people being relieved of duty due to lack of sleep. I think Tvilic has something in his record about this from Ensign then acting First Officer Ward. So I think we give Tvilic the easiest shift, maybe the
Pre-dawn?
Yeah. And that maybe feeds into the Andorian physiology. And then I guess Farga gets is probably proud of how she can wake up at any time without any ill feelings. So maybe we give Farga the worst, the quote unquote worst shift for a human.
Okay. So the order is Ward, Juan, Farga, Tvilic.
Not Ward.
Juan.
Okay.
Juan. Sorry, Lee, Juan, Farga, Tvilic. Yeah, many secondary characters and so many combinations on the table. Farga, what do you do when your tricorder alert goes off, suggesting that one of those geothermal sensors has just gone off?
I will pull out from the crew bag the set of optical enhancers, and
I'm assuming that Lee will have left the usual
the
set of surveillance stuff.
Go between people. So I'll look in that direction and see what I can see.
There's definitely, you can see that flashing red light even without the optics.
Then I'll wake up the others.
Do you want to, because you can see that, do you want to scan around there to see what's gone on, or is that good enough for you?
No, it's gone off, so I'll wake up the others.
Everyone wakes up. Everyone mark a mental stress box, please, because your night is being disturbed by Farga waking you all up. And I'm seeing you kind of pulling on your uniform and stumbling out into the outdoors. Where Farga, what is the nature of your geothermal emergency?
We've got a sensor gone off.
One sensor, is it?
Yeah, one.
And what's the reading from that?
It's detected some kind of presence.
Okay, presence of a life form.
Just to be clear, what these are set off to do is to detect increases in heat, suggesting increased lava flow beneath the surface, or disturbance at the surface.
So I guess we'll take a look at the reading that's coming through. See, what the delta is over the past hour. See whether it's a one-off spike or whether it's still increasing, and then maybe look at the cross-reference versus the neighboring sensors.
Do you look at anyone when you say that?
I mean, I am heavily suggesting that this should be Farga and Tvelic because they set these up. But I think if they don't get the hint, then I'm just doing it myself.
No, I think Tvelic, it's an obvious science officer task. What's going on up on that slope. So Tvelic, I think you've got one sensor, so the difficulty is 3. SciMed is your relevant skill. Roll a dice.
Yes. It's -4, so I rolled a total of 0, which in your
means -3, I think.
Yeah.
So success at a cost, I think, is what I'm looking at. Success at a major narrative cost. One goes off on the opposite side of the valley, and one up there as well.
Because the sensors are going off, right?
Yes.
Is there any sort of tectonic activity or anything that the characters feel, or
nothing?
Okay.
I think Tvelic, this feels odd. This feels like in the script terms, this is a major narrative right-hand turn.
Tvelic, if with all the sensors going off, is it the volcano's going? Are we about to be flooded with lava? And she's got her hand paused over a thing. Do we need to beam out of it?
But then we would get a wave reading from the sensors. This looks like I don't know, weird. Maybe there is something flowing in those lava veins.
Okay. Well, here's what I think.
And then the first one that went off goes out of service.
Okay. Well, here's what I think. Everyone get their respirators, and let's send a signal, just a pre-warning back to the Kintsugi. And then Tvelic and Lee, I would like you both to eyeball the first one that went off, see what's going on there, because I'm not sure we can trust the sensor readings we're getting.
Lieutenant,
Does that sound okay?
Lieutenant, if I may suggest, let's not yet contact the ship. We don't want to call them if it's just, I don't know, the planet. Let's just go and inspect what have. I will go with Farga and inspect what happens.
No, you're going with Lee.
One, I'm going to compel you here. Do you avoid the confrontation that says, yes, we will call the Kintsugi?
I'm avoiding both of Tvilik's suggestions. He's going with Lee, and I'm sending a log update to the Kintsugi.
Well, but I'm offering you a compel here.
Yeah, I'm refusing.
You're right. Well, if you refuse it, it will cost you a fate point.
Yeah.
So you confront Tvilik and say, "Do what I said."
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm not saying that. I mean, you can. He might read it like this, but I'm saying no. Let's go with Lee, and maybe I just don't mention that I'm going to send that signal to the Kintsugi anyway. So I'm saving his feelings a little bit, but I'm still.
Of course you are.
As we walk off, Lee looks at Tvilik and says, you're not in security yet, okay, Tvilik? You're in science. Don't tell. You never tell your commanding officer not to tell the ship, okay?
Who would do that?
But this is probably nothing. And besides, we were sent here to be put through a test and not dodge the test on the first occasions.
You've done bridge duty before, right? All that happens is that you get a message. How many times do we hear, oh, one of the sensors has gone down, and it turns out to be just like one of Lital's crew hasn't configured them right, all right? Oh, wait, you're not one of Lital's crew, are you? Sorry.
I mean, exactly. This could be just a malfunction. That's why I suggested to the lieutenant not to report it, because.
Yeah, but look, when it is, and it's, the Borg, and her sort of good humor cracks a bit there. They'll at least know where to find our bodies.
Tvilik and Lee have been gone about a quarter of an hour, about halfway to where that first sensor is located up on that hillside. What are you using that period of time for, Wan and Farga?
Well, I think monitoring the opposite direction, the one that went off in the other way.
Yeah, and when they are about halfway to the first one that went out of service, the second one goes out of service. About 20 minutes in that direction, the opposite direction.
What do you want to do, Lieutenant? They're closing in on us.
Yeah, my preference would be to get to higher ground and see if we can get a look. And also, if there's lava on the way, I would like to be on higher ground, personally.
The nearest higher ground that is further away from this area of activity where you're supposed to be doing the survey is on the opposite side of the valley. So far, on the east and west sides, out of service. One of them's gone out of service in each direction. The third one that's signaled is on the way to that lava field. The safe ground is the opposite direction from that up there.
Okay, so I'm not looking for absolutely safe ground, but like locally safe ground. Yeah, higher ground. That maybe gets us to an eyeball on the sensors that have just gone off.
Okay. Farga, you and Wan are heading off towards the high ground where so far the sensors have maintained function. They've not gone off.
Before I go, I would like to set a power core on overload with a trip switch and put it under a backpack that's left out in the open.
Now, in terms of homemade grenades, you've got a couple of options. You've got one of the phasers that each of you is carrying, or you've got the power system that is powering the prefab.
I'll use my phaser.
Okay. I will warn you, it's down right at the bottom of the sheet, that if you set either your phaser to stun, to kill or overload, when it might do harm to a sentient and you act first, you owe me a fate point.
Sounds fair.
Right, reduce your fate points by 1. I'll give myself an extra.
Well, Farga, let's sorry, Paul, are you doing this like, on the QT or
No. I mean, it'll be reasonably obvious that
Okay.
I'm doing something engineering-y.
Yeah. I think we better warn the others that we are leaving for higher ground, just so
Of course,
they know
of
where to
course.
find us.
I'll contact both Lee and Tavalic.
Well,
leaving.
you do your thing. I have a communicator too. We all have these badges. I think
Okay.
mine works,
Yeah.
right?
You tell them that we're leaving the habitable area, and we're going to go move to higher ground.
Yeah.
And in theory, the least active ground, which is the other thing about the direction you're heading in.
Plus, we may get to watch one of these go off if we're heading in one of the still operating.
Wouldn't that be interesting if it
Yeah.
did? You get that message, Illic and Lee, just as you are approaching the one that's gone out of service. It's been broken in half. What do you do, Lee? You're our security officer.
I grab Tavalic and pull him back behind a rock. Like I'm imagining kind of like typical Star Trek framing of like there's like rocks around.
Boulders.
Boulders. And in the middle of a clearing surrounded by these boulders is our sensor with the thing in.
Which is it looks like it's been pulled out of the ground and snapped.
Fascinating. A nocturnal life form that is big enough to do it. That's fascinating.
Your phaser's set to stun, right, Tavalic?
Of course.
Okay, well, what did they used to say in the historical records? Stay frosty.
It's very hot here, so.
Is it? Okay, I'll take it. Yeah, sure. She's not sweating at all.
Do you communicate what you found back to Wan and Farga?
No, we check it out first. Because we're characters in a TV show rather than Dungeoneers.
Okay. There is no 10-foot pole to be used here.
Yeah.
So you're checking out and what does that checking out look like? Is this kind of surveying the locale?
Yeah. I think it's going over, looking around, picking one of the pieces up. I'm imagining them as quite big.
Paul described it as like a picket, and they were big enough for them to carry half a dozen or so each. So they're quite long, not very thick.
I think I will take a look and see whether I can see whether it was ripped apart by like blunt force or slashed, or perhaps there was some sort of tool used here or something.
Security to investigate the scene of the crime.
Yes. Yeah.
Difficulty is 2.
Can I be helping?
What would you like to do?
I think I take out my tricorder and I set it to detect movements and at least middle-sized life forms, like slightly smaller than humans, maybe up to going to bigger than us. And I just scan the night. Okay.
Well, what I'll do, the way I'll play that is if you are likely to be surprised, I'll give you a chance to invoke the tricorder. But I don't think that's going to help with the investigation of the actual damage. So Ensign Lee, let's have you roll. I think this is, again, security is to investigate scene of the crime. Difficulty 2.
Cool. That's a 1 on the red and a 6 on the blue.
Oh, so that's -5.
-5.
+4 is -1.
Which is
-1 against 2 is you are 3 short.
3 short. So
you are currently on fail or a or I get to throw a significant narrative turn at you?
To be honest, if I spent a fate point to take it to a -1.
What would you like? Invoke your security officer status?
Yes, I think so. I think you know what I'm going to put as a other aspect is that she is an animal lover.
A what?
What's the right word for it then? Somebody who likes animals, like is has a keen interest in the fauna of the galaxy kind of
A
thing.
keen interest in fauna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was imagining it more as like like people like dogs and cats and things like
Okay.
that. I think in xenofauna.
So you can spend one fate to invoke the security officer to get a -1. You need to spend another fate point to invoke your newly created aspect to get to +1. And that will allow you to me to tell you something.
Was just thinking of, I think a major narrative cost. I need to get 0 to get a minor cost. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll just take the result as it stands, frankly.
Okay.
Oh, there was a shift between major and minor narratives. Switch things up.
Savilic, you are scanning for movement out there.
Yes.
And suddenly there's a lot of movement. Let's see what you can find out about it. Difficulty would normally be 2. I'm going to throw in the boost I've had in my back pocket for the environmental hazard to give it another 2. So difficulty is 4, Savilic. You could, and I'll give you an option to invoke the tricorder in a moment if you want to improve your outcome.
I wonder what do I roll, science or
Cymed, yeah, for your tricorder, no question.
Cymed, let's see if the dice are favorable this time.
So I think that's you're on 0 at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So a minor cost. You're in a tough narrative spot. Are you prepared to settle for that, or do you want to invoke your tricorder at the cost of a fate point to improve that to I know exactly what's going on?
I need to show off to Lee. So of course, because I'm using a tricorder, I'm going to spend a fate point to know exactly what is going on here.
There are 5 things moving out there relatively slowly. You might almost think that it was a stealthy approach by a pack. Current range about 20 paces.
Yeah, I suppose Tavalik shouts to Ensign Lee, 5 bogies, 12 o'clock, they are a pack. They are hunting pack.
Lieutenant Wan and Ensign Farga, you've made it to the high ground that is furthest away from any of the issues that have arisen. The 3rd one has now gone out of service. The one that went off has now gone out of service. So all 3 that went out of service are now, who went off are now out of service. Where you've got to, on the high ground furthest away from the volcanic activity, all seems to be well, Wan. What do you do?
What do we think, Farga? It's nothing doing up here. I'll be inclined to check in with the others.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Lieutenant Wan to Ensign Lee.
Report. Lee, you get the request to report. What, if anything, do you tell your commanding officer, Lieutenant Wan?
So did Lieutenant Wan just call me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. I accept it and say we've got life forms, sir.
Microbes?
No, bigger.
Bigger.
Coming this way, right, Tavalik?
Yes. They are sneaking in, I would say.
I'm imagining like doo-doo, doo-doo.
Well,
These little antennas are like bing, bing.
Mm.
well, obviously you're on the scene, Adira. So do what you think is best, but please keep me apprised of your situation. If you feel you're in danger, please withdraw. We're on the high ground at these coordinates.
I personally would absolutely love it if midway through one calmly telling me this list of information is when the first one of these things interrupts.
I think that's when the urge to take a shot. Definitely, you can now see them in the the dull red glow of the night. You can see these things. They're low on the ground. They tend to move quickly and then stop. Then move quickly and stop. Quickly and stop. And they seem to be fanned out around you, closing on you. What do we see you doing, Lee, and then Fadilic? I'm going to go to Lee first because of security.
Lee, I think, scrambles behind, some sort of like position where her back's to a thing. Like there's more of them than there are of us. Fadilic, watch my back, and like gesture to a piece of cover, like so we can sort of cover each other's from all angles.
Tavilic, I just want to make sure you've spotted you have a stunt called Pack Tactics. When you succeed in an attack, you can create a boost with the next character, which the next character to attack the same target can use. Just so you're aware.
Yes.
Who opens fire first, Lee?
Oh, we don't open fire.
You let him get.
No, I'm gonna as we take cover. I think we're basically just watching to see what comes out first. We're not going to shoot first.
Do you want to get up on this rock?
Yeah, let's climb up on this rock. Actually, yeah. I think what as we're crouching behind it, I'll look up as a bit of rubble comes out at the top, like a bit of dirt, pours down off the top slightly as I bump into it, and I'll look up and I'll go, cover me, and start to climb up. I think I gain +2 when I use it to create an advantage based on spotting ways to solve a physical problem or face a challenge I've never encountered before.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't going to make you roll.
Oh, okay.
If both of you are up there, there is an aspect in play that you can invoke at a cost of a fate point that is height advantage.
I think Tavilic, because he's sort of an expert on xenobiology, I think he would like to stay on the ground and says, well, actually you cover me, and I think from my back where I have except tricorder and phaser, I probably also have some kind of a food stuff, and I just basically want to crush it, put it on the ground. And it probably has a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetables in it, and I want to take a step back, don't look threatening. I just want to see if it's really hunting us, or is it just hungry and curious.
Okay,
that's what does.
I'm seeing Thavilic with their back to a rock, Lee on the rock, and Thavilic is scattering crushed ration sticks in front of them. Farga, you've heard the exchange with Thavilic and Lee. Do you have any advice for your commanding officer or not?
I'll say to Wan, do you think we should go and help them? They're under attack by greater numbers. Or do we leave them to their fate?
Well, those are two very unfortunate framings of my choices here. I mean, how far are they away, Farga?
Well, they're a distance. I mean,
it's about half a mile.
Everything in the galaxy is a distance away, Fargo. You realize?
Yeah. Well, this is a snap decision, Lieutenant. Either we go and help them now because time is of the essence, or we just sit here and listen to them. Your call. You're in charge.
Well. Half a mile, whatever that is in real distance, about a click, I suppose. let's go. I think we can push ourselves to jog.
Yep,
What do you
let's
think?
hustle. Yep,
Hustle.
I agree.
Which of you has the greatest con?
I mean, it's certainly not me.
I'd say it's definitely me.
It's definitely you. So I think this is you pathfinding, Farga. So it's difficulty is 2 plus 2 for the fact it's nighttime, plus another 2 because it's that kind of terrain without lava in it. So it's difficult terrain.
I'll turn around at one and say it's really dangerous. Maybe we shouldn't run. Probably we might be better just staying here.
I was going to offer you the opportunity to reduce that difficulty to 4 if you take a more cautious approach.
Well, I am going to support Farga in her initial instincts, or at least her judgment right now. Well, we'll go at the pace you think is safe, but like you said, our comrades are in trouble, and it would be terrible if we arrived there a minute too late.
You selflessly support the actions of those you work with. Difficulty goes from 6 to 2 without you doing anything, Farga.
Yeah, let's roll on that then.
Okay, difficulty is 4. Con is the relevant skill. Go for it. So, con is 3, -1 on the dice is 2 versus 4. You're at -2. You're going to take some physical stress on this unless you have something to invoke to improve that.
Well, I've got Resolute +2 to overcome a physical obstacle. But is that at the cost of a fate point?
It doesn't say so, but it's only when you're using security.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so if this was pushing boulders up a hill, you'd be ahead of the game. You could invoke your cybernetic restructuring. Maybe you could tune up your eyesight.
Yeah, let's spend a fate point for that.
Fine. So that will get you away from failure. No stress. You're going to be there shortly. Lee, you can see, you can now see these. And to be honest, they look like low, flat boulders. But they move in little dashes. How closely are you going to let them get to Thevilic before you take action?
Um,
I'm going to count you down. I think Thevilic has managed to throw some of his food rations maybe 2 or 3 meters away. Yeah?
Yeah.
5 meters.
5 meters. Tvili, get up here.
4 meters.
Tvili, come on. And then I'm going to fire a shot.
3 meters.
I'm going to fire a shot of the phaser over their heads, like a warning shot. Maybe
Okay.
at the rocks to show that it does damage,
We'll set to stun. It won't, of course.
I turn it. I thumb it back over to kill, and
But
I
you
shoot.
don't fire at them.
You don't fire at
Okay.
them. No.
No. Warning
And
shot.
I'll definitely be moving it back over to stun beforehand.
Okay. Let's see what the reaction to that is. I know something about their drive, so difficulty here is 4.
Cool. Is that a command?
I think it's security to hit the right place.
I mean, just shooting. I'm essentially only shooting the rock as a warning, as a dramatic thing. I'm not doing anything.
Go with command if you prefer.
Of shooting into the air, it just does some sort of like.
Go with command if you prefer it.
I know I'm better at security. It just feels more.
Okay. Yeah. Go with that. Oh, look at that! 4 on the dice.
Yeah.
And they stop dead. About 3 meters away from Thevilic. They're probably within touching distance of the furthest bit of ration. Thevilic, what do you do?
I think I'm standing there with my tricorder, just like taking readings of those things and looking at them and looking at here and looking at them. Fascinating. A rock life form living in such harsh conditions. I'm like analyzing. It's just like, even though I partially don't like it, it is my specialty and it's part of what interests me.
Is this with an eye to spotting whether they have a weakness, or just to be able to ask me questions about them that don't really create an advantage or learn something? I suppose no, create an advantage. Yeah, I know something about them.
Yeah.
Go with it. I think, again, difficulty is 4 because they're odd.
I'm using Cymed.
Cymed.
The dice are not my strong favor. I'm at 2, but I'm going to spend a fate point because I'm a science officer to boost it to 4, which gives me.
I think that gets to a tie, doesn't it?
Yeah. Not sure if it makes sense, but okay, yeah.
You don't create the advantage, but you have a boost in relation to these creatures. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They stopped Lee. What do you do? It's a kind of standoff.
Yeah. Lieutenant One, I don't suppose you speak rock or roll?
Rock or roll. A strange combination when taken apart, but together they have quite a lot of synergy. That's a no, Lee, by the way.
Farga, isn't Farga some sort of language specialist?
She is, and she will be with you very shortly. I think you can sense one is a little bit out of breath after
trying to keep up.
Trying to keep up, yeah.
Well, they don't seem actively hostile for now. It's kind of hard to tell. I never tried to read a rock. They've got good poker faces.
And
I think
so
that's where we take our commercial break.
Okay.
I think they've got good poker. It's just before. It's 4 minutes to. Shall we? Is 4 minutes long enough? Back on the hour?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the last shot of it though is just the cut back to surrounded by, and then the 5 rocks are all around us.
That's the scene, I think, that Farga you will arrive into. This handful of flat rocks, about half a meter across, in a standoff with Lee, who's aiming his phaser down at them, while Thavilic has his tricorder out, just scanning them. What do you do, Farga? You're first on the scene, and Juan's out of breath. Oh, you are muted.
I'm going to attempt to communicate with them.
Okay. Talk to me about this. What am I seeing?
I'm going to get Tavilic to throw me the data from his tricorder, create an advantage. If there's not already one in play, I know how to communicate with them. And then I'm going to use my tricorder based on the information his has given to either send out some flashy lights, some vibrations or something.
Fine. There's a boost in place, which as long as Thavilic is happy for you to have access to it, you can use your engineering to try to come up with some, probe them for response. You try, light, you try vibration, go for it. Difficulty, I think, is 4 because they're odd. But you've got that boost in play.
Even Stevens, spend a fate point.
I don't, hang on, I don't, you need to. You've got 4 in engineering. Difficulty is 4. Yeah. Dice make no difference, but you've got that boost to give you +2.
You okay if I use the boost, Pavel? Okay.
And it is vibration that causes some reaction. And when you hit them with that right resonant frequency, they kind of lift up slightly and then move together. So the handful of them are now clustered together. And then they start, you can feel it in the ground. There's a vibration in the ground. What do you do, Fargo?
Does my tricorder tell me that they're trying to communicate back?
I don't think the universal translator has enough to go on yet, but they responded, is I think what this is telling you.
Then I think we need to set up a method of communication.
Okay. Wan, you arrive slightly out of breath, because you know Bolians are not built for this kind of stuff.
Certainly not this Bolian.
And that's the scene. There's Farga who has managed to set off some kind of vibration, and they seem to be vibrating back.
Well, I'm overjoyed to see my team are handling the issue. I will put my hands on my knees and catch my breath, and let them handle it.
Is your assessment at the moment that this is a sentient species?
To be determined. I mean,
Okay.
they certainly. I mean, at animal levels of sentience or awareness, I think would be our current assessment, right?
Okay.
It's fair.
And then it becomes clear what that vibration is, because all 5 of them fall through a hole in the ground. Clearly, they've broken through whatever crust was beneath them, which now throws Farga into some... Were they communicating or were they actually drilling?
Tvillik, scan to see what's gone on.
Tvillik, difficulty's only 2. Symed, sensor scan for what's happened, whether have they gone, what is down there.
Dice are flat, so
4 versus 2, success. They've drilled through a relatively thin layer of the crust, of this volcanic crust, into what appears to be a lava tubule.
It's fascinating. A natural life form that moves in the lava tube. It must be extremely high heat resistant. By all means, they could be gone. Like, I mean, they will be far away. So
Juan?
I kind of surprised because now I suddenly notice that Lee is like standing on a rock up above us. Right. Farga Tvillik, put your heads together and come up with an assessment and a recommendation, please.
Tvillik, I'll offer you compel. It would be much more exciting to be in those tunnels than out here.
Oh, so they're not. So those are empty tunnels, not like lava tunnels.
Not full lava tubules. Tubules formed by lava, but now cool at the level you're at. Whether they get hotter down deep is a different question.
Okay.
Do you take the compel to offer Lieutenant Wan the advice that the only way to be certain is to get in there and go after him?
Yes, of course. Lieutenant, we are not really sure where they went. I think we should follow them and at least see what's in those. What's in those tunnels? Maybe we'll find even the better colony of the microbes. Permission to go after them.
Oh, if you ask permission, the compel evaporates.
So then I guess I jump in.
Tvillik is already disappeared down the same hole. You asked him to put his head together with Farga. Farga, what's your reaction?
I'll look at Tvillik as he's gone down the hole and then turn to Wan and say, do you want to live forever? And then jump down.
Lee.
I'm looking over, personally, as far as I can get towards forever. Yeah, definitely. That's not what I meant. As you disappear into the tunnels.
The creature went down as well, right?
Oh,
Or they
they've all went into this. They
They've all
drilled the
left this.
hole or vibrated a crack into it somehow.
Yeah, I think Lee's just climbing down from the rock and muttering under her breath. Simple survey mission, they said. Not first contact with another with a species. Have we just broken the prime directive?
Did we though? I mean, anyway, we were assured that there was nothing but microbes, and I think we have yet to ascertain whether they are sentient.
No, they stopped at a phaser, so they've got something going on more than just.
But your phaser hit the ground, or did you shoot in the air?
Shot the ground, I think.
Vibrations, I think. Okay. I think we should examine the broken probes to see exactly what prompted these things to destroy them. Like, did they consume the energy source? Did they find some strange element in the middle? Who knows?
And Lee pats about and goes, I'm not, the security doesn't get issued tricorders, so.
Oh, okay.
I think they both went down that way.
Well, I have a tricorder, obviously.
And if you handed it to Lee, she would just look at it sort of like kind of blankly, you know.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think you probably do have a tricorder if you want.
No, I know, but like they're I think there are different types of tricorder, right? Like,
yeah.
Or they've got pre-configured settings or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's just easier to say that way, yeah.
But we're going to figure it out together, right? Or you'll take care of me.
So am I right in thinking that the pair of you are going to go on with the investigation of the damage probe? Sensor?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like as we kneel down before they get out of comm range, just a quick tap on the badge and just be like, Tavalic, stay alive down there. Did it?
Tavalic, I think you went in first. Farga's behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You drop down into probably a 4 foot, 5 foot, what's that, 1.5 meters, 2 meters diameter tube. I have to say it doesn't look entirely natural. It looks like it's been worked. There are areas where it's been smoothed or rough edges have been taken off. What do we see you doing? You're in the lead, Philip. Action hero on point.
I suppose since it's night and it's like we are going underground, I open my bag and take out the flashlight to be able to see anything, and left or right, and does the tunnel goes deeper at any direction? Or do I
It
see
goes
the
deeper in
lightforms?
both directions. So it's they've picked a point where it's close to the surface and it goes away and down.
Guess I look if I can using my tricorder, I take a look if I can like determine which direction. If I can't, then probably left.
Go left. Farga, follow or do the perverse thing and go right.
No, I'll follow.
It slopes away at a very gradual. You're stooped. You're in single file. Tavalic, what's going through your mind at the moment? Are you imagining reconfiguring the holograms, the holo suite to recreate this, or are you excited? What does the audience know?
Tavalic thinks, do they have like a bigger one to drill these tunnels, or are they just like, or did they did themselves? It's like fascinating. Maybe these tunnels aren't. Maybe these tunnels aren't natural. Maybe they are drilled by a big worms or something like this. Fascinating.
Wan, you could use SciMed though you'd be at -2 because this is a scientific task, or engineering, or Ensign Lee can use the security tricorder to try and work out, again, we're back to scene of crime.
Um,
I think scene of crime would mostly tell us they broke it.
yeah.
You know, how did they break it? What forensically was, when did they break it? That kind of thing.
I think
What are
we're,
you trying to find out?
so I want to see if there's any evidence that they broke it in order to achieve something other than breaking it. So, was there a power source that they consumed, or an element that is
Okay.
missing, or
Okay.
something like that?
Let's have you roll SciMed at -2. Difficulty is only 2.
Okay. Those dice keep rolling flat.
They do. They do. So you're on a tie. And I think for that, what I'm prepared to do is to say a minor narrative cost. The tough narrative spot you're in is that this is the point at which nearly every one of the sensors near the lava field goes off.
Could I make a counter offer? Or an idea, rather?
Well, I'm prepared to listen.
You had put in good relations between Juan and Lee very
Indeed,
early
I
on.
had.
So I wonder if maybe, despite kind of staying out of it and being on watch, maybe Lee notices something that I don't.
Fine.
Yeah. I think maybe I mean, I'm on watch, but I think I'm sort of like looking over your shoulder every now and again. And maybe I'll point out, like, is that well, check out the Quasenheimer spectrum on that. I haven't seen readings like that since basic training.
Rather than burn your advantage, why not just assist him? It'll give him +1.
It will. As long as you have at least 1 in science.
I don't believe I have 1 in science.
You
I
do?
have 1 in science.
You got 3 in science.
Then I assist rather than burn the advantage. Then
Gives you +1. And I think what I can tell you is that they were broken. And it looks like the core, maybe the sensor material in the middle is different from just the kind of plastic surround. The metal core has been abraded, and there are bits of it missing. Consumed or taken, you can't tell.
Well, that seems very interesting.
The rare movements inside the sensors.
I mean, that doesn't tell us whether these are sentient beings or not, but certainly gives us a question for which the answer will point us in the right direction. So yeah, I'm gonna.
We still have some of those sensors left, don't we, Lieutenant?
Oh yeah, I mean you've got a string of a half dozen more that that one on one side of the valley have just all gone off.
Can we? So maybe we can do it, but also maybe we can communicate with Farga and Tvelic if they're still in range to scan for that element.
Yeah, they're still in touch.
Okay. We pass on the exposition.
This is SciMed or engineering. Who does what? Tvelic, Ensign Farga, they've sent you details of a mix of metal components that were damaged, removed, consumed. They're not certain, but they're wondering if you can find them down there.
Yeah, Tvelic, you roll, I'll assist. Yeah, we've got a broad spectrum of skills.
Of course. Searching for this. That's
difficulty, I think, is 4, given the comm difficulty and the fact you're trying to scan ahead to where these things might be.
So I got 2 above.
Okay, so I think 4 in engineering, that's success. Don't need any assist.
Well, if he hadn't exist, that would push him into the.
Oh, success with style. You're not wrong.
Nice, good.
Well spotted. Then I think that what I can tell you, you'll get a boost doing whatever you do next. But
Mm-hmm.
do you want to cash in the boost? And I'll tell you something extra. But I will tell you that you have a source of those elements, those alloys ahead of you, suggesting you're on the right track and you're closing on it. But if you want to cash in that boost now, I'll tell you something else interesting.
Sure. Yes, let's use it.
Those alloys and elements are not present in the rocks that you're traveling through. They are rare on this planet.
Okay.
You'd have to say, Thabilic, unnaturally rare for such a geothermally active planet.
Okay.
It's almost like they've been used up
Or consumed.
or consumed. Okay?
Let's just do a scan of myself. How much of me is made up of those elements?
Oh, what a very interesting question.
Can I have a compel on that one?
You can make that a compel, yes.
Yeah, I definitely want that. Yeah.
That you are surprisingly tasty, Farga, is the compel. Well spotted. Give yourself a fate point. You are surprisingly tasty.
Or I could spend the fate point and not be made of any of that
And
material.
not be made of any attractive elements.
Yeah, I'll take the fate point. Yeah.
Because that is probably, Tavalic, when, as well as doing that kind of scan for mineral content, that mineral content is getting closer to you. And you can probably even hear scrabbling in the tunnel ahead of you. Farga?
I think this is where we need to either communicate or start firing.
Well, you've got no target yet out there in the darkness.
It's coming in, so
getting closer.
Yeah, let's set up a communication machine to communicate using sort of vibrations in the ground. That was our intention when they were on the surface. They're now coming towards us.
It was.
So this will determine whether they're sentient or not.
Okay, I think what I want to do is treat this as create an advantage in the first instance. Can you modify your tricorder to try to create bursts of vibrations that will make a difference? Yeah. You've got very little to go on, so I'm going to make the difficulty 4.
Okay, it's an engineering feat.
It is.
Tavalic can assist, can't he?
He can.
Yes.
He's got a bit of engineering.
Okay, let's see what we get. And I could invoke the tricorder itself, couldn't I?
You could, if you needed to. You've got lots of options here.
But I succeed anyway, +1.
+1. Okay, so you're on plus. So do you want to invoke the tricorder and turn that into not just creating an advantage with a free invoke, but 2 free invokes?
Yeah, let's spend a fate point, invoke the tricorder. And yeah, I think I've got this language down pat.
Language is a strong word, but let's go with it for now, in the absence of anything else. Are you communicating up to Wan and Lee?
Yeah, get down here. This is a first contact situation, possibly.
Wan.
To avoid the first contacts?
Yeah, which is why he added the possibly at the end, right?
Wan, I am prepared to compel your mild-mannered nature to delay you entering while you contemplate the moral question of, is this a life form? Is this a civilization? Are you at first contact? Is the prime directive in place or not?
Oh, well, yeah.
Or do you want to act immediately and give me a fate point?
I'm definitely not acting immediately. I'm pausing for thought.
Okay, give yourself a fate point. Lee, what about you? Wan appears slightly indecisive at this point, considering all the options.
Yeah. we've got to get down. We've got to make sure that we to get down there, sir.
We might have to make sure that they come back and we get out of here
He's
as soon as
waffling,
possible.
Lee. What do you do?
I snatch his tricorder out of his hands, and I begin searching for. Is there they have these lava tunnels, right? That we now know are below the surface and everything, right? And I think I am thumbing through it, trying to find the setting that will help me map out, a convenient. I'm trying to, I guess, create like an aspect of or an advantage of, a convenient tube that will take us down at speed to the place that they've ended up at.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think you need to do that. They've only been gone 10 minutes. You could get into that tube and run to them in minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. I was just hoping for the dramatic moment of, the roof opens up, the hole going down, and we're like, guys.
But also
the place and leave one behind. I go, work on it, sir.
Yeah, I think I need to like guide you through the right menu to do what you want there, Lee, because I know it's a scientific tricorder and you're not so familiar with it, but if so I'm like working against myself here, but I'm being very helpful.
You're being very helpful.
Very helpful.
But Lee is gonna snarl in frustration and jump down the hole.
Jump into the hole in the ground and jog to support the team. Farga, this noise is getting much closer.
Okay.
And the illumination you've got, you can see there's something moving out there and getting closer towards you, but you're not sure what it is.
I'm going to suggest that Tavilic stands in front of me for two good reasons. One, I don't have a phaser. In fact, three good reasons. I don't have a phaser. Two, he's dead good in hand-to-hand. And three, they may want to eat me. That's a damn good reason. So, do you want to switch to hand-to-hand, Tavilic, using your bantha stick? And I could have your phaser.
Yeah, sure. Grab it. Use it in self-defense. I will stand before you and try to communicate with them.
Yeah, we'll do talk first, action if that doesn't work.
So what I'm seeing is Tavilic kneeling in front of Farga aiming over the top, but trying to use the tricorder to communicate. Which is the priority, Farga? Communicate with the tricorder or aim?
No, communicate.
Communicate, fine. Okay. So let's see how that goes. I think difficulty here is 5, but you do have 2 free invokes on you think you've established a means of communicating, or maybe even just frightening, at this point. Difficulty is 5. I think it's an engineering task unless you've got a better option.
No, I think because we've built a box.
Yeah, you're manipulating a box. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we'd approached it from another direction, then it would have been that.
I go with that. Difficulty is 5.
So I'm -1 on the dice.
No, you're +1 on the dice.
Oh, +1 on the dice. Well, I'm at 5 then already.
Success by 2. And it slows down if that is what you wanted to do.
Indeed, I do.
But continues to approach rather slowly. And what you see is what appears to be a whole kind of tunnel load of these creatures. They're lining it and moving on, but they seem to lock together somehow. And that's probably how they made these tunnels. Tavilic, they are close but not danger close. And you can hear footsteps pounding down the passageway behind you. Wan, what do? You've had your moment. What have you decided?
Oh, I'm following, obviously, because that's exactly where you want your leader to be, at the rear,
where they can
being dragged along by his subordinates.
So Lee, you can see in the kind of, I don't know if Star Trek ever used torches. They must do that in that kind of, jogging light. You can see Farga manipulating the tricorder with Civilic in front, ready to go at them.
Could I have grabbed more of the sensors?
I'm very happy for you to spend a fate point to declare that to be a case.
Yeah, to maybe have like in between the edit of me, the cut of me down the hall, somehow I've acquired a torch in the Star Trek uniform and a maybe like an over the shoulder like bag of a couple of them, whatever we were transporting them to the planet in.
Or maybe the broken one still had some remaining in it,
I think you've got some of the broken one from upstairs.
But I just want some of the minerals that they
want. Yeah. No, because they'd only about eroded kind of the broken ends. There's plenty more in there. You spent a fate point. Of course there are.
Okay, cool.
And they've slowed down and they're approaching slowly, Farga. And again, I'm going to give you a countdown. 5 meters.
We're not going to fire.
4 meters.
I'm going to step forward and put half of the thing on the ground and then step back.
3 meters. Lee arrives behind you.
Oh. Yes, we'll let Lee do his thing.
And lobs this at it into the space about 3 meters away, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It stops dead and descends. Just this colonial structure almost just descends and devours this. What do you do because it's bought you time? By that point, Wan can have arrived, all 4 of you in this corridor, while 10 feet away, 3 meters away. There are a dozen of these things just fighting over almost.
Yeah, let's move forwards with, can we communicate with them or not? Because that will decide whether they're sentient.
Yeah. I think you've got a chance now.
With some kind of dialogue.
Yeah. I think this is a very straightforward. Can you? Because you've got to the point where you were able to stop them by saying stop.
Yeah.
And they stopped. Can you get anything back from them? So Farga, let's have you roll to overcome again. I think because I'll give you 4 on the Universal Translator now.
Okay. And I've still got those invokes if I need them.
You've got 1 free invoke left.
So completely dead 0. My 4 against your 4, so we're on 0. Let's spend the invoke for. Can somebody assist?
I'll assist you.
You've got enough science to suggest, tweaking the alpha band.
Yeah.
That nudges you into success.
+1, and we've still got
a free invoke. If you went for a free invoke, you'd.
Well, it'd take me at +3, which would get me another free invoke.
Well, it would get you a boost on. Can I communicate with them?
Is that different from an invoke?
It's a one-off, I suppose.
We'll do it. Yeah, there's another.
Okay.
There's a +2 to communicate with them in play then.
Fine. So you begin to get readings back. And what you're getting is, at this point, less about sophisticated communication and more about some understanding of their needs. And they cannot get the minerals they need in the amounts they need. They are at least sophisticated enough to recognize that the future is a challenge. And that's probably a decent indication of some level of sentience in the civilization.
They're starving.
They're living rocks, Jim.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it.
I'm a doctor, damn it, not a geologist.
Okay, so I think we need to quickly look at the bigger picture. When we pulled into this system, are there any moons of this planet that could support their life? Basically, unless we've got some data, which Star Trek never seems to be short of data. You can locate it. can we easily transplant these to a nearby, for them, hospitable planet? Because they're not meeting the requirement really of a starfaring race.
Oh, they're far from that.
They are dying.
Well,
Wan. Let me go to
I'm-
Wan, then Lee,
yeah.
then Fadilic.
we're going to leave the tunnel. Is that understood? We're going to gather our things and we're going to ask for a pickup.
We can't let these things die.
Well, Fargo,
You-
let me just suggest that maybe you signal, wait, help coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are still tasty. You know, you could there is a distinct kind of but there is food here now. So Wan, I'm gonna go with you on this. I think that a little meeting a little bit further away.
There's no little meeting. I'm ordering everyone out of the tunnels.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Lee?
This is Starfleet, and in a position where you can't run off behind their backs or do anything about it. There's no question, right? I think when Lee's even going to say, because we have that aspect, yeah, good call, sir. Maybe we can work something out up on the surface.
Fadilic, Farga, is either of you going to disobey Wan's order to leave?
Yeah, nope.
Fine. I'm almost tempted at this point to epilogue our way out. Yeah. By cutting to the captain. Now we have Zinnet still, don't we? So Captain Zinnet and Lieutenant Commander Latal in the conference room. I'm going to come to each of you in turn for you to tell me something about the solution that you've come up with. Yeah? And I'm probably going to start with a theoretical solution. What are the two options, Thavilic, that you see as possible here?
The two options, we can either supply materials, because it appears that we can get here this in some quantities to this civilization, and this is interfering, but we don't let them starve. Or we can not supply them with enough materials, hoping that they will somehow evolve, change, and that way we obey the prime directive of not interfering, at the risk that they may die out.
Lee, that's what the science officer says as options. Do you see any other option? And if you don't, which of those two do you throw your weight behind?
If there are scans of the system, whatever these minerals, it's common in planets of this nature. It's probably common in other celestial objects in the system. The Kintsugi's transporters, a few pattern enhancers. We could give them enough to survive.
Farga, any other option? If
I say,
which of those do you throw your weight behind?
I'm going to say we find an inhospitable or a non-life-bearing world, and we transplant them.
Okay, so what I think I've got on the table is let them starve, yeah, or supply them. And in terms of supplying them, what Lee is suggesting is look for a local celestial object that you could use to mine for the materials.
I would like to suggest maybe finding an asteroid of it or something and sending it into the planet, because this species isn't going to be bothered by pesky things like dust clouds and things like that, but they would love a big rock of a thingy just because it looks cool as well.
Or volcanic activity.
Yeah.
Or transplant them. And Latar looks at you, Wan, and says, it was your mission, Lieutenant Wan. What is your advice? Leave and let them starve? Find an asteroid that is rich in these minerals and crash it into the planet? Or transplant them?
Well, I think we should take none of those options, sir. Although I think, to be fair, we cannot do some of those options because we dare not interfere in the natural ecology of this place. However, option D, I would suggest, is that we discover what created this imbalance in the ecology in the first place. Was there some other civilization interfering, which led to this cascade and the failure of the ecology that has caused these creatures to be facing starvation? And if we can find proof of such interference, then perhaps we can create a plan which will create the minimal impact on other ecologies. So while if this were a sentient species, we would be having a different conversation, but I don't think we quite have that assessment as yet.
Thank you. We'll confer, says Zinette. And as you leave, I want to know what each of you says or later says to somebody else about Lieutenant Wan. Ensign Thvillic, what do you think about Wan, and or who do you talk to about Wan, and what do you say?
I'm trying to formulate an idea.
Wants to come back to you?
I can come right back. I come back round.
I think Tvilic. I wonder if ensigns make personal logs.
Personal log, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think Ensign Tvilic describes Lieutenant Wan as too undecisive, and makes a note to himself that when he will be in command, he will be leading from the first line and be far more decisive than Lieutenant Wan. He's focusing on like from like. But I think we hear in the way he picks the words that he's like looking at this too much from the like I don't know. No, scrap it. I don't know.
I'll come back to you because I think that I liked where that was going. Farga, personal log entry or a conversation with somebody?
A conversation with my chain of command. Whoever assigned me, because in my notes it says assigned to the Way mission to enrich the expertise available to Wan. So whoever assigned me on that mission, I will report back. Wan, well suited to the med bay, not suited for leading away teams. Should be confined to his specialist area and kept there.
That's a bit blunt, says Latal.
Blunt, but that's my assessment. I would not follow that person off this ship.
Nice to know you've given a balanced view, Farga. Thank you for your time. Because, of course, he is your chief engineer. Ensign Lee, conversation with someone or a personal log entry?
Should we settle what we did with the species?
I'm using what you're telling me to decide what Latal and the captain are going to do.
Okay. I think Ensign Lee is I've requested requested to accompany the next shuttle landing down to the planet. We're going to set up some long-range monitoring of the situation.
About WAN.
About WAN. Okay.
Personal log entry about WAN, or a conversation with someone? If so, who?
Yeah, you know what? I think what it is that this epilogue we get of Lee in this scene is having a cup of tea with WAN in the med bay.
And does that and what are you saying about the mission?
The mission. I think you made the right call, Lieutenant, but I don't know. I guess the responsibility's just been passed on. It's up to them, right?
Well, so I think one is using this. This is obviously a medical checkup, right? I want to see what knock-on effects of all this activity and the.
Can it be as we go through as we're going through the tea as well? Like it's how many sugars until you can taste something that tastes good to you?
Well, I think it's a tough decision. We discovered something new. It was wonderful and unexpected, and it does seem contrary to our Federation spirit to leave them die, to leave them starve. It seems cruel and unusual, but I think we cannot just interfere in any ecology without knowing what caused that change. We cannot send a probe with all of these elements at the start of every month and keep them going.
Yeah, there's probably, I hope there's more to it, but if we can't find, I don't know, I hate to think of people going hungry.
And if we had a greater amount of confidence about their sentience, that would be a different conversation.
I want to go back to Thvillic before we finish. Thvillic, we heard the log entry and then you seem to have second thoughts. Do you press erase on your assessment of WAN as indecisive and your intention when you get the lead in a away mission to be more decisive?
Yes, I think he stops and then presses to continue. And who puts a medical officer in charge of a away mission that involves science? I mean, clearly the science department should be in the lead, because we know not to follow. We know that the prime directive is not to interfere, and any attempts to fix the situation will change it no matter what.
And I think that we cut to Starbase 19, where someone receives an incoming message from Lieutenant Commander Latal saying, completing the briefing with a personal recommendation. We've had a suggestion that perhaps a longer-term survey mission should be dispatched to this planet. The captain wishes me to pass that on. And somebody's at a desk and they're looking at this and they go, file. And that's, I think, where we'll finish. I'm going to pause the recording there.